Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz. We're here going to be taking a look and doing another garage review of this thing, which is the AC-1 Sentinel, which is on the same chassis as its bigger brother, the AC-4 Sentinel, which is, let's have a look, it's 2 tiers higher, isn't it? There we go, AC-4 Sentinel. It's basically the same chassis as its bigger brother, but albeit with some slight changes. And this is the little tier 4 machine, which is usually sold about Valentine's Day, actually, in a package called the Sentinels of Love, I do believe. But I didn't buy it in that package, I actually bought it in a different package, which is when it first came out. This actually came out on Blitz before it did on PC, and I got this on Blitz first. And it is a decent little tank. So it's got 27% protection, 18% firepower, 34% shot effectiveness, and 41% manoeuvrability. So, looking at it, 520 HP for a medium tank, which is not as much as the Matilda, but I do believe it is more than the AMX-40 there. Let's have a look. Actually, 520. What's the AMX-40? Oh. 550. Yeah, not quite. Okay, maybe it isn't quite a lot for a tier 4 medium. It's actually fairly low for the tier 4 mediums that I currently have. But it's an amount of HP, I think we can say. It is not the most. Yeah, it doesn't have the most HP at tier 4. However, it does have quite good armor for tier 4. 65 frontal hull, 50 side, 65 rear, 50 frontal turret, 35 turret, 35 front, 65 rear, which is a weird armor construction that they have here. So looking at it, decent frontal hull. The frontal hull is certainly decent. It's only 10mm away from the Matilda. It's technically better than the AMX-40, but that's without including the rounding and sloping of the duck. So yeah, 65 frontal hull is decent. Side armor only 50, yeah, not that great. But the rear 65 again, it goes up to, don't know why, the Australians obviously thought that was a good idea. As for the turret, frontal turret, yeah, 50, that's pretty terrible. Side as well, also terrible. But 65 rear turret armor, don't know why. I don't know why the Australians suddenly. Yeah, this is Australian, by the way. Forgot to mention that. It's a tier 4 Australian medium tank. But yeah, for some reason the Australians decided we don't want the strongest armour at the front, we want it at the back of the turret. So they decided to do that, which is very odd, I think we can all agree. But the armour's alright, it's a decent enough armour profile with the front of the hull. As for manoeuvrability, 26.68 tons. Yeah, with a 330 horsepower engine, which means it goes at 48 kilometers per hour, but I'm fairly certain it has got a low power to weight, which would mean that it does not have the quickest acceleration off the mark compared to some of the other tanks, such as the A32, which weighs 19 tons with a 540 horsepower engine. But I think we can all agree it's better than the Matilda, 26 tons, 195 horsepower engine. So yeah, I think we can all agree that it's better than the Matilda, even if it is not the quickest thing off the market tier 4. 40 degrees per second hull traverse and 40 degrees per second turret traverse. In fact, they're both the same, funny enough, which is a nice little thing to see. But yeah, so it's got decent mobility enough, perhaps a little bit slow acceleration, but a decent enough top speed and a decent enough traverse and turret traverse. It's fairly good. As for the engine, 20% chance of fire impact, yeah, okay, 330 horsepower. Weird turret armour, I don't know why, but 256 meters view range, decent for tier 4. Yeah, 31 ton load limit. But now we come to the gun, which is an Ordnance Quickfire 2-pounder Mark 10A. Which is not as good as the Matilda's top 2-pounder, but it's basically the same as the 2-pounder Mark 10. It's basically the same as this, which is the stock gun on the Matilda. So if we take a look at it here, 23.52 rate of fire rounds per minute. It's very quick at firing, which has always been the thing about 2-pounders. 2-pounders are very rapid firing. It's got a great rate of fire. The average pen, unfortunately, not as great as the Matilda, obviously, being 78 average pen with AP, or 121 with APCR, 12 with HE, 45 average damage with AP, 40 with APCR, and 60 with HE. So yeah, the penetration not quite as good, unfortunately. There are things which will prove a problem, such as your own tank in certain aspects, but Matildas and AMX 40s are going to be your biggest threat with this kind of penetration, where it's not that great penetration, and the dispersion is 0.34, which is alright dispersion. It's not the best dispersion, but at the same time it's not the worst dispersion. But it does mean that it makes sniping weak spots on, for example, the AMX 40, for example, trying to get through that top turret. That's going to be a bit of a problem if you're at medium range. Also, trying to hit the driver's thing right here, that's also going to be a bit of a problem. As is trying to snipe the lower glacis of the AMX 40 as well if you're at medium range. What are we going to get? Credits. Yeah, because I don't have enough of them. But yeah, so the accuracy, it's alright, but at the same time, it's a bit meh. 3.7 second aim time though. You do get to your dispersion very quickly, which is always nice, always appreciated. So yeah, it's decent enough. And that is it for the main stats. So looking at it, a weird armor profile, but strong frontal hull. This thing, which I believe is for a machine gun, don't know why they decided to give it such a large and weird shaped shroud, but yeah, that's a machine gun. But that's obviously not a weak spot. But the front of the hull, fairly solid. Turret, only the rear of the turret is really solid, and I have no idea why they did that, but either way. As for ammunition, you carry 100 rounds, which you're not likely to run out of unless the game goes for the full 7 minutes and you're firing constantly. But unless that's happening, then yeah, you've got a decent enough ammo load to be carrying around. As for provisions, you've got the standard fuel, 3% engine power and turret traverse, then you've got black tea, 3% to crew mastery, and then you've got protective kit, which is 15% protection and crew from injuries, 10% speed and module repair, 20% fire protection, and 10% ammo and fuel tank durability. So you can go ahead and mount some of them if you want. I would suggest black tea, for the same reason as the Matilda has black tea, because it just makes the quick firing gun fire that much faster, because that's the biggest point of these 2-pounders at the lower tiers, which is that they don't do that much alpha, but they have the rate of fire to back it up, and that's why you go with black tea on that. As for consumables, you got your standard repair, first aid, fire extinguisher. I'm actually going to do that and that. So yes, repair, first aid, fire extinguisher. Then you got engine power boost, 20% engine power for 15 seconds with 75-second cooldown. Adrenaline, 20% of load speed and 10% chance of damaging enemy vehicle modules, with the same as the above. And the multi-purpose restoration pack, which is these three things rolled into one. Now, I would suggest adrenaline. Normally I don't fit adrenaline, just because. But on this tank, it's going to be very useful. The same as the Matilda. You can get your rate of fire really high with adrenaline, down to like a 2.2 second reload. So adrenaline is really useful. So, well, on this tank at least, and the Matilda. So that's why I would say probably adrenaline. As for equipment, definitely go with gun rammer, because the rate of fire, you're missing out on 1 2/3 of a round without gun rammer. It is tempting to put on calibrated shells to get above 80 penetration, but honestly, gun rammer I think is going to be more useful. Then protected modules for 10% to protection of engine, transmission, and ammo rack, and 10% to suspension and fuel tank durability. Then I would say coated optics. You could go with the cabinet, but honestly, coated optics are just going to be far better. You're a medium tank, not a tank destroyer or a light tank, so it's your choice, but I would suggest coated optics. Then I would say supercharge, because the shell penetration you're going to want to keep over distance, so yeah, go with this for the extra shell velocity and decrease in penetration with distance. Then improved assembly, possibly get up to 550 HP. Enhanced armor, possibly, but the funny turret is going to be the weak spot. So yeah, 5% on to the 50mm turret is going to get up to 52.5, and honestly there's not much which at tier 4 which won't be able to get through your turret, so yeah, there's that. So yeah, I would suggest improved assembly. Then honestly, engine accelerator, I think, get up your top speed quicker, that's going to be useful. Then your choice, I think, over vertical stabilizers or refined gun. Refined gun, get it down to 0.32 accuracy, which is really good accuracy, so that's always nice. But then again, vertical stabilizers always useful for shooting on the move, which as a medium tank you're probably going to be wanting to do. So yeah, it's a toss-up really between those two. Then again, it's also your choice between those two, and again, your choice with that, whatever the hell those two are. So that is the AC-1 Sentinel. It's a decent tier 4 medium tank. It's got a decent enough armor profile. The gun is good if you can get to flanking, or if not, if you just pick on weaker armored targets, for example A32s perhaps. And yeah, it's a fairly rare thing to see on the battlefield. I suppose you don't necessarily see that much of it. So yeah, that's the AC-1 Sentinel. I'll thank you for watching, and goodbye.